Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of The Real Hero Show. Nick with you here as always, and in today's episode, we will be covering Titans Season 3, Episode 5, entitled Lazarus. This episode will be covering full spoilers, so if you haven't been caught up yet on this episode in Season 3, then I do suggest you go ahead and watch the episode first, and then hop on back here to watch this review. Before we dive in here, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, help support our community, help support the channel. Go ahead and like this video, turn on the bell for all of our future content and notifications. So let's go ahead and dive in. As we might have surmised throughout this season so far, where this episode takes place is directly after episode 4. Crane has escaped the cabin in the woods and has met up with Jason Todd and asks what the plan is. And again, for those of us that I might have taken a guess in saying that Crane is behind the whole thing, or rather that Jason Todd and Crane have been working together, well, this is the episode that explains how the first 4 episodes have all come together with a little bit of backstory. So this episode does consist of more character development and backstory and just storytelling in general. So not a lot of action, but that's okay sometimes to really dive in and see what these characters are made of. We get more of an acting presence from some of these characters, which was actually nice to see, and a bit of a change for this show and shows like this. So a couple key points within this episode. We do get to see more of Ian Glenn portraying Bruce Wayne in his conversations that he has with Jason, as Jason is having a nightmare and keeps having these nightmares, and then Bruce suggests that, or rather demands Jason going to see an old friend, Dr. Leslie Tompkins, who we know later on in this episode, who works or used to go to school with Jonathan Crane as Scarecrow. We also see the conversation where Bruce takes Jason to the place where clichély Bruce's parents were murdered in the street outside the theater. But it's a conversation that Bruce has with Jason at that point that we may have heard it before, but yet again it is reiterated to a certain point where Bruce does feel bad for his previous mistakes with Dick Grayson, the first Robin, and Jason sort of feels like he's weak. He reiterates that he's not weak and wants to prove himself to Bruce, but I think that's sort of what creates the rebellion inside Jason, and I don't want to say it's all Bruce's fault, as that was a question that I supposed a couple episodes ago. Was it Bruce's fault for Jason's downfall, or was it the Titans and Dick Grayson's fault for Jason's downfall? But also it's just kind of making a deal with the devil, or the evil that is Scarecrow and Jonathan Crane, and the bigger plan to create this sort of chaos or revenge, whatever Crane's endgame is for this season. And again, I know some people might not be super thrilled to seeing a lot of Bruce and they want to see more Titans, but I think this is again part of the whole story, and I'm completely okay with that, because as long as it makes sense, as long as it actually leads somewhere, then I think it's worth having Bruce Wayne in the show. Most of the cool parts I do think in this episode were from the conversations between Jonathan Crane and Jason Todd, and with Jason and Dr. Leslie Tompkins. We'll go over the conversations between Crane and Jason first, because we do see that when Jason confronts Crane inside Arkham Asylum, you can see like the fear within him. But Jason proposes to Crane if he can counteract the fear agent that he initially created. And we learn a little bit more about that from Dr. Leslie Tompkins, because she was under it, and we find out in their conversation during one of the therapy appointments that it was Bruce who saved her, and said it was the closest thing to hell that she experienced, which was if you use your imagination, that's pretty scary. The conversations, though, again, between Crane and Jason, and we learn more about, well, they were working together, and to the point where Jason wanted to use this fear agent, or anti-fear agent, rather, to prove to Bruce. So it was a son trying to prove something to his father. And we really do believe that, because during the sessions between Leslie and Jason here, as they're doing the word game, she says father and he says Bruce. And we do hear a couple times Bruce saying, son to Jason. So it's like hitting on the emotions and hitting that father-son family connection. And for the sake of Jason, he ultimately does die. I wasn't, sure of how that was actually going to play out, but he was announced dead, killed by the Joker. And as they're showing his body being dragged through the pits, and again, we get a little bit of an Easter egg that I thought it was very interesting how only Jonathan Crane knew that there was a mystic healing pit that was left by Ra's al Ghul, and Jason is thrown into this pit, which looked like a hot tub or a jacuzzi, but heals him. And there we get the episode of the title with Lazarus. And for those of you that don't know the story of Lazarus, he dies, and then Jesus brings him back from the dead. So I think it's a bit of a stretch to say that Ra's al Ghul or Jonathan Crane are close to Jesus or not, because they're far away from him. But nonetheless, we still see the revivalness of the pit to healing, to bringing Jason back from the dead. And again, between what that leads Crane to sort of reprogram Jason's mind and reinventing himself, and essentially poisoning his mind to thinking that he's something that he's not, or that he needs to somehow seek revenge and be stronger, but by re-identifying himself not as Robin, but as the Red Hood. And we see a little bit of the violence that Jason can throw out as he gets revenge on Hawkins, who is like this gangster street thug, who we see him confront in the back of the street as Hawkins is trying to persuade some poor girl with some alcohol. But Jason confronts him. I thought that was kind of funny when he's like, I'm fuck and she's off, to the guy, and he tries to act tough, but then he gets his ass kicked in the street. But of course, when Jason gets reprogrammed and comes back as the Red Hood, he inevitably kills Hawkins, as Hawkins, fearing for his life. And it's kind of like, as Leslie Tompkins says, Jason, or rather Robin, isn't allowed to be afraid. He shouldn't be afraid. And that's the one thing that would, be detrimental to his health, his survival. Something that I think, Dick Grayson was able to conquer, and to not be afraid in the circumstances. But we know, as the nightmares that Jason is having from previous events with Deathstroke, like it's kind of messed him up. And I do think that the therapy was helping, but obviously, as we see within this 3-month time frame, he's gone from one edge to the other, and now is pretty much off in the deep end as the Red Hood, and is trying to get revenge or seek some sort of approval, which it's a little bit of a desperation attempt, in my opinion. And I think between him trying to work with someone who's locked up in Arkham Asylum, someone to work with, even though he's a consultant for Gotham PD, it doesn't really mean shit at the end of the day, because he's still evil, he's still criminal, he's still dangerous, and he's gone off the deep end. So I'm curious to see, again, where this story continues to progress with Jason Todd as the Red Hood now. We didn't get to see any other Titans. This was purely a Crane, Jason, Bruce, Leslie character involvement. So we didn't see anyone else other than like any other Titans, which I know some people might not have really been a fan of, but Jason Todd being one of the main characters within the show, I think he did a really good job. I think this is probably his best performance, in my opinion, of all 3 seasons. And again, just the acting from Jonathan Crane and Bruce and Leslie Tompkins. I think it was melded very well together between all of their arcs, to where it comes from the 3 months ago to where it is now. So predictions as far as where this goes into the next episode. Maybe we'll get to see a little bit more about what Jonathan Crane's plan is with Red Hood. I'm sure we'll probably see more of the Titans and seeing what their plan is to try and stop Red Hood and Crane, now that Crane has escaped through the help of Dick Grayson, Nightwing, as he took him out of Arkham Asylum. So I'm pretty sure that Barbara Gordon and the Gotham PD aren't too thrilled with him about that. So it'll be interesting to see how that conversation goes down and what their plan is to try and bring him back, or to stop him and Red Hood. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that this sort of plan, this plot of Crane and Red Hood working together is weak? Do you think it's strong? Do you think it's going to lead to a better season, the best of the Titan season so far? Do you think them working together is going to lead to Crane being killed at some point this season, or just being locked up and left alone? Do you think Red Hood, or Jason Todd as Red Hood, will stay as Red Hood throughout this season? Will he be redeemed? Will he sort of snap out of it and become a Titan again, but still remain as Red Hood, and the Robin role be open to another person like Tim Drake, who inevitably does become Robin through the comics and other DC animated movies and shows. So it'll be interesting. I'm assuming we'll probably get more Ian Glenn as Bruce Wayne. It's bound to happen, since we've already gotten more from this season than we have in the first 2 seasons combined. And I wonder what Easter eggs we'll continue to see. I wonder if we'll see anything else from Ra's al Ghul in there or not, but I'm kind of curious to see if we'll see more Leslie Tompkins. Does she try to seek help from, or maybe ask Jason to come in and kind of get evaluated and see if she can help him? Do you think she might get killed off? I thought it was going to happen in this episode. It didn't, but I wonder if her life will be in jeopardy or at risk at any point in time. So go ahead and leave your comments in the comments section below. I'd be curious to see what everyone thinks about this episode and this season thus far. And again, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Help the channel grow. We really appreciate everyone who has been subscribing lately. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up for liking the video. Turn on the bell for all future content and notifications. And until next time, see you guys on the next video. Peace.